Hi, I'm back for part 2 of my Blue Ridge Marathon weekend review. In the first part, we talked, my cat is about to knock over my phone. We talked about kind of pre-race, the expo, and the first part of the double. Again, everything was a really great experience. If anything, I just wish there was more support, mostly fuel and aid on the first lap of the double. As an ultramarathoner, if you go to a traditional ultramarathon, aid stations are epic. It's like a grazer's, paradise. And I knew like doing an ultra on the road was going to be different, and it certainly was. And that's a challenge in its own right. But at the end of the day is sort of the reason, that you find out that I did not finish the double, I think. But we'll get to that. So as I said, we started the first lap of the double 1 a.m, and of course my dog won't shut up. Hey, Batoot! And the race, you have a half a mile that's flat-ish, and then it's on, game on. So pretty much within a half mile, you immediately start climbing. It's sort of slow climbing at first. Coming out of Roanoke as you go towards Roanoke Mountain Park. And I felt really prepared actually for that. The work I did on the treadmill made it that I was able to run kind of the gradual uphills for the most part. I kept running nice and slow. I was really, really strong. I would walk to fuel, and I did some kind of intervals. But I found that because of all the climbing, like intervals eventually just didn't make sense. Like it made more sense to kind of run when I could and hike when it made more sense. So I actually didn't kind of follow any specific interval after that. Once you kind of turn into the proper part of Roanoke Park, like the last push, I think it's 2 to 3 miles, mountain road, like straight to the top. And that's where it gets definitely more steep. And at that point I did mostly fast hiking. Again, felt like really strong. I've definitely improved my hiking, which is good. You get to one overlook. Don't get too excited. It's not the top. You descend a little bit, and then you have one more push to the very, very top. That's about mile 7. So like I said, the climb, the first and biggest climb, is right at the start of the race. Even at night, the overlooks were beautiful. I mean, you could see the lights from the city. It was really, really nice. We did have rain kind of in the first hour and a half of the race, but it was so humid. It actually was nice. I was not cold. I didn't wear a jacket or anything. I had a singlet for the whole time, so it was fine. And then after kind of the first hour and a half, it didn't rain again. Come down. So the thing is, you have lots of climbs in this race, but that means you also have lots of pretty epic downhills. So not only do you need to practice your climbing, but you should also practice like your short, quick turnover going downhill as well. I would do downhill repeats for sure, especially on the road. That was one thing that in the second lap I realized had really gotten to me was I like downhills. I'm pretty good at downhills. Again, I've improved on uphills. I've improved on downhills, all the above. But doing that on tarmac, it is a bear. I mean, it just obliterates your body. And so my ankles and quads were really, really shot by the second half. They had the Mill Mountain Star up, giant star on top of a mountain. That's the second climb. That was really cool. And then you come down off of that back into town, and the third kind of climbing area, I guess from mile 16, 17 through 20, 21, is a place called Peakwood Park. Yes. It's a neighborhood with beautiful houses, and it will obliterate your soul, basically. It was like wonderfully awful. I was so prepared to kind of deal with the climbs at Roanoke and Mill Mountain that like getting to Peakwood at that point in time, it just destroyed me. And the things with the climbs in Peakwood is they're really steep, and then the downhills are equally steep. So I think in terms of my quads and ankles, it was probably Peakwood that in the first round that got to me. I finished again with time to quick get some fuel, use the bathroom, get a really cool picture with the other BibRave pros that were in town, and get to the start line. I felt really great at that time. I thought I'd been fueling. I think I had enough hydration. My guess now is that I probably hadn't had enough fuel, and maybe just the first real humid race of the season, I wasn't acclimated yet. And so my kind of electrolyte balance was probably off. I was doing great. I followed out the 6-mile group, the 6-hour group, and just figured I'm just going to do my best to stay as close to them. I did get separated from them, but was right behind them back at the top of Roanoke Mountain, maybe 5 minutes behind them by the time I got to the bottom. And somewhere around mile 10, I went from pretty good to like not good at all very, very quickly, like very quickly. I was like fighting this like mental urge to literally sit down on the side of the road. Like I knew kind of something was wrong with me. There's a difference when like something gets hard and you kind of push through and you get to the next mile, or you like take a pickle, or I actually had mustard packets. I was eating, trying, and I think I probably just got too depleted at that point to catch up. And it finally caught up to me, and anything I was taking was very temporary. And then I just mentally, I think, I wasn't correct. And I knew something was wrong, and it got to the point where I actually didn't feel safe. I've done it enough to realize that, the difference between just being on the struggle bus and, knowing your body and something's not right. And I just realized there was no way, I had time to walk, but there was no way I could have walked for 4 hours, I think, in the state I was in. So I got to the aid station about mile 12. I told somebody, there was medics there. They kind of looked at me and they're like, yeah, you should go. And I was like, cool. So they put me in a truck, not for any emergency, just that was the best way to get down the mountain. And they transported me down the mountain. And I knew just what happened. I got to medical at the start finish, and they popped an IV, and I had a piece of pizza, and I felt great after that. But unless I was able to do that like on course and keep going, I don't think there was any alternative. So I wasn't super sad. Like now, I guess 2 days later, I'm a little disappointed, but effectively I finished the full marathon. I just finished it at night, and I finished half of the second lap. So I got about 38 miles. So nothing to, sneeze at. But I didn't get a medal or anything. I think they'll send me one if I really want, but I don't know. I signed up for the double and I didn't finish the double. So it doesn't really, I'm not a big medal person, and I certainly feel weird about getting something where I technically didn't finish. So, but the medals are really nice. You should know that. After I stuck around, they have live music, lots of food. They also have food trucks that you can purchase from. And I wanted to go to the concert that night, but I was just so tired from lack of sleep that I was like, I will go see Tank and the Bangas at another time. Cool. Had a fabulous sleep. And then probably the best part of the weekend was Sunday. The first time they've done this is called the Slow K. It was a slow 5K. They wanted you to go slow. You got mugs of coffee. You can buy mimosas. Your bib was a lei. And so me and Jen and Brenda and Elizabeth walked the Slow K, and most people walked. Like there were signs that literally said, no, we're serious. Go slow, go slower. I was like, this is great. I think the only person who got an award was the last person. Every race should have a Slow K. It was like the best idea I've ever seen. It was so much fun. It was, if you've ever done like a marathon or anything long, like walking the next day, especially if you're going to get in the car or plane to go home, is really important. And it's so great for recovery. I felt great after that. I feel really recovered now by Wednesday, and I just highly recommend it. The whole thing was so well done, notwithstanding kind of like my own issues. A day later, I'm like, okay, how can I do better next year? Like, let's make this happen. I really want to go back. I might actually apply. Brenda and Elizabeth are both race ambassadors, and I might actually apply to do that because I just really love the race and I believe in kind of like everything they're doing. So if you want a challenge, but you don't want to do it on the trail, I definitely recommend Blue Ridge. It's just, and the views are beautiful, free pictures. It's amazing. So you should definitely check it out.